Okay, so CUNY TV,
Okay.
we're ready to go. All right, members of the Board of
Recording in
Trustees,
progress.
Committee on Student Affairs and Special Programs, please respond present when you hear your name. Trustee Una Clark,
Present.
Trustee Sandra Wilkin,
Present.
Trustee Michael Arvanites. Not yet. Okay, Trustee Myra Linares Garcia.
Present.
Great. Hugo Fernandez, the faculty rep.
Present.
Terrific. Victoria Chevalier. Will she be joining us?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Giovanni Picant.
Present.
Great. Good to see you. Lennon Jacon, the student alternate.
Present.
And Trustee Salamatu Dimbuya.
Present.
Terrific. So the public meeting of the Committee on Student Affairs and Special Programs is now called to order pursuant to the New York State Legislature's recent extension of the suspension of required in-person meetings under the Open Meetings Law. This meeting is being held remotely via video conference with access to the public session available on the CUNY Board of Trustees website. A copy of the calendar agenda of items is also available online at the CUNY Board of Trustees website. Additional items may be added during the meeting. And as a reminder, please mute so we can ensure that everyone can hear. I'll now take a roll call attendance for members of the Chancellery. Members of the Chancellery, please respond present when you hear your name. Chancellor Matos Rodriguez. Not yet. General Counsel and Senior Vice Chancellor for Legal Affairs, Derek Davis.
Present.
Executive Vice Chancellor and University Provost, Wendy Hensel.
Present. And the
Aye.
chancellor is at a gala.
Oh, there we go. Executive Vice Chancellor and Chief Operating Officer, Hector Batista.
Presente.
Terrific. Vice Chancellor Denise Maybank.
Present.
Great. President Jennifer Rapp, the COPS liaison.
Present.
Great. President Bernice Eames from York College.
Present.
Deputy to the Vice Chancellor, Ian James.
Present.
Okay. Geraldine Thomas, Chief of Staff to the EVC and COO.
Present.
Great. And we have two students joining us today. Sierra Garcia, hopefully I pronounced that correctly.
Present.
Terrific. And Bonabel Rosario.
Bonibel Rosario, present.
Terrific. Thank you. It's all you, Sandra.
Thank you, Gail. Item 1, I will now call on Vice Chancellor Denise Maybank to give her report.
Thank you, Trustee Wilkin. I want to start by acknowledging that we do have our Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs and University Provost, Wendy Hensel, with us today. I didn't want to go past that and just act like she wasn't here because I report to her and it's important. So welcome, Wendy. We're glad to have you.
Thanks, Denise.
No problem. So this is graduation time. And I begin by acknowledging the over 55,000 students who are members of the class of 2022 who are being celebrated during the Spring 22 in-person commencement ceremonies. I also acknowledge our 2020 and 21 graduates, many of whom came out to support their friends and family members during these ceremonies. We're excited about you going out to populate the world with the brilliance of all you have gained through your CUNY experience. Congratulations to everyone. The College Discovery and SEEK programs on Friday, May 6th had, in partnership with the units of the 17 CD and SEEK programs, hosted a virtual graduate recognition ceremony to honor all CD and SEEK graduates from the summer of 2021, fall 21, and spring 22. There were roughly 2,045 graduates who were honored. In terms of our vaccine mandate, our LVAs continue to review and approve vaccination documentation for our students. 94.6% of students enrolled for spring had their vaccination documentation uploaded and approved. And then through the centralized process, over 1,400 religious exceptions and over 200 medical exemption requests have been processed. We've established the position of the University Director of Student Intercultural Engagement and Dialogue to develop and administer programs and resources that facilitate outreach and engagement among student communities that have historically experienced conflict and tension associated with faith perspectives, race and ethnicity, and intercultural communication. This position will enable dialogues, training, and understanding around critical concepts, including anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, racism, and xenophobia, and will facilitate the unpacking of how associated lived experiences are inextricably bound up with intersectional elements of identity. The inaugural director for this position is well prepared to take on this challenge. Sophia McGee joins us from the Center for Ethnic, Racial, and Religious Understanding, also known as CERU, at Queens College, and the CUNY Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Incubator. In terms of mental health, the federal funds from the stimulus packages reduced the ratio of counseling staff to students from 1 to 2,550 students down to 1 to 1,621 students, more closely approximating the IAC's recommended ratio of 1 to 1,500 and the average that is reported in the National Survey of Counseling Center Directors, which is 1 to 1,600. So it made a difference. And we hope that the additional resources allocated by the New York State budget for mental health initiatives will help us to more permanently maintain some of these clinicians to provide direct services to students. I'm glad to share with you that the Ernesto Malave Leadership Academy students participated in the IREX, and I tried to find out what this acronym stands for, but it's just IREX, Global Solutions Sustainability Challenge. Could not find it to save my life, but they participated in this challenge, and it is a virtual exchange initiative that supports leadership and workforce development for college students in the US, Iraq, and Jordan. Our students partnered with students from Jordan, and they finished in the top 5 teams with their solution for a global challenge that had to do with water initiatives. So congratulations to them. The CUNY student veteran population is estimated at 3,200, which is about 25% of the New York City student veteran population. From fall 2021 to spring 2022, student veterans served by our Project Prove program persisted at a rate of 71.5%, compared to a rate of 65.8% for student veterans on those same campuses who did not benefit from the services of the program. The CUNY BMI program was able to provide additional resources to 7 campuses to support the CUNY BMI Ambassador Program, using the funding that they received from the New York City Council. There will also be the addition of a program component focusing attention on mental health and wellness as a part of the BMI model. Disability services, I want to share with you that Adaptive Sports launched the inaugural season of the CUNY-wide wheelchair basketball teams for men's and women's basketball, including away games. Both teams competed in the National Wheelchair Basketball Association Intercollegiate National Championship during this first season. The men's team finished 9th in the country, and the women's team finished 6th in the country. So I want you to hold that thought for a little later in the meeting because it will have significance. So following our policy agenda items, I'll return to introduce the special panel of students joining us today. And with that, Chairperson Wilkin, I conclude my report.
Well, thank you very much, Vice Chancellor Maybach, for your report. And now let's turn to the items requiring a vote today. Given that all board members are participating remotely, I will announce the resolutions and ask for members to respond only if you would like to abstain or oppose an item. Otherwise, your vote will be recorded as a yes vote. If you are voting no or abstaining, please state your name and vote. Additionally, if you wish to second an item or have any questions, please state your name first for the record, and let's try to avoid speaking over one another. We'll now take up the following items for approval. I move the approval of action item 2A, the minutes of the April 25th, 2022 meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Chair. Any discussion? We will now vote. Please only respond if you would like to abstain or oppose. Item 2A approved. Item 2B, the policy calendar. Policy item 2B.1 is a resolution to adopt an interim protocol allowing student athletes to receive compensation from third parties for their name, image, and likeness. I now call on Executive Vice Chancellor and Chief Operating Officer Hector Batista and Senior Vice Chancellor and General Counsel Derek Davis to provide further background on this item.
I always defer to my general counsel first, and then I will jump in.
Thank you, Madam Chair Wilkin and Madam Chair Clark. It's a pleasure to see everybody tonight. As many of you know, last year, the NCAA adopted a rule that allows our student athletes in the United States to benefit from their talents by getting sponsorship from private vendors and public companies as well. The NCAA deferred to the states and to the schools to adopt their own policy. And in light that there is no state law, the schools are sort of left to their own to develop such a policy. In January, the State University of New York adopted a protocol that is consistent with the NCAA guidelines. We were weighing whether or not there was going to actually be a state law that we would follow. And in light of there not being one, we thought it best to give clarity and guidance to our student athletes to have such a policy. We are defining this as an interim policy because this is very new territory for all of our colleges and universities across the United States. The rules are very simple. As you can see in the protocol, students are, if they're able to benefit from their talents by getting sponsorship, getting their name, image, or likeness attached to a product, sneakers, t-shirts, basketballs, footballs, you name it, baseball caps. What they're not allowed to do is use the institution they're a part of to leverage that. That is, they can't use our mascots, our logos, our name, our facilities. The policy will be implemented by the organization within the university that's responsible for athletics. The compliance portion of the policy will be administered by the Office of General Counsel. As you know, the Office of General Counsel has a compliance group within it now as a result of the reorganization of RAC. And so we will be there to assist athletic directors and commissioners in implementing the policy. To the extent that student athletes have questions, directors have questions, presidents or deans regarding the ability of their student athlete to benefit from a sponsorship, we will be there to advise them and give them an opinion. So we look forward to the implementation of this policy. We may come back and revisit it a year from now after it's been implemented and it's been put in practice. And we hope that we're on the right track, and we welcome the opportunity for our student athletes throughout our university to benefit from their talents. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I think our general counsel covered it clearly, so yes.
I have one question.
Hi, Giovanni. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Hello. I was wondering, and obviously I'm sure the sentiments of the students, they most likely are excited, but I know that at CUNY, they have SAC, the Student Athletic Committee, or I remember I met with them a couple of times. How was consultation with them throughout this, being that this is a new policy? We might be revisiting it and changing some stuff up, but how do they feel about it initially? How was that consultation process with them?
So this was not really a shared governance approach. And I'll tell you why, Giovanni. The university is responsible. We could do nothing. We could sit back and wait for the state legislature to act, or we could develop a policy that would give our students guidance. This is the most lenient, broad, liberal policy there is. There's really not a lot you can do except restrict further how students may engage in benefiting from their name, image, and likeness. So there really wasn't a need at this moment for a sort of a stakeholder town hall, campus to campus review of what the NCAA has clearly said is fair game now for all of our students. Now, that said, a year from now, Giovanni, we may revisit this. Students may say, well, wait a minute. We need more rules, clearer rules. Can a pizza parlor? We may, as a university, say there are some standards by which we will not allow our students to benefit from their name, image, and likeness. And the law isn't quite clear yet, quite frankly. You could be sponsored by practically anything and anybody, but there may be standards that both athletes and commissioners and athletic directors may set for our institutions, where they might draw a line and test whether or not some products, some endorsers, some vendors may not be in the best interest of their students or their institutions. So we'll have to see where this develops and how this develops. And I welcome, I think, certainly as counsel and the arbiter for responsibility for compliance, to see how this evolves. As best I know today, as we sit here, there are only 2 students, I think, that have actually received some form of sponsorship. And it's worked out quite well. But anything's possible. It could range from anything from a big company like a Nike or an Adidas or Puma to your neighborhood restaurant that will sponsor somebody. I think we all saw during March Madness how the cheerleaders who got the basketball unstuck from the hoop in 2 of the games were sponsored by their local restaurants. And that was totally legitimate, and it was wonderful because they rarely get the credit for the game and sport that they're cheerleading. So this is new territory for every one of us, and we're looking forward. That's why it's an interim policy.
What role will our athletic directors play in making sure that the students are both doing their academic work as well as their sport, and then participate in this kind of program?
Well, again, thank you, Trustee Clark, for that question. This should in no way impact a student's ability to meet their academic standards. It's a good question in the sense that if a student is out there signing a lot of contracts and looking for a lot of money to support their tuition or their livelihood, that's a completely different question. And their academic advisors on campus should be engaged in that process. We're here to make sure students aren't taken advantage of, but at the same time, students can take advantage of their achievements both on the fields, the courts, and the stadiums that they participate in. Obviously, this is the sky's the limit. The bigger the athlete, the bigger the sport, the more success they have in their arena, the more likelihood they are going to get folks chasing them. We do not provide legal advice to them. We do not provide any sort of guidance on investments. This is for them to pursue so long as the university is a neutral party and not negatively impacted by their activity.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great, thank you. I was wondering, will there be a cap on how much the students are allowed to benefit from, or any restrictions in how they can use those funds?
No, this is, again, one of the wonderful attributes about this policy at the moment is the university is not playing a role in it, in the sense that you're not using, so for example, we have President Ains on the phone with the call with us tonight. Your college is a wonderful athletic program. So long as they don't use the bird or the colors necessarily, they can use color because it's a neutral aspect of the advertisement, but they can't benefit by using the facility, the image, the likeness of the school. We as a public state agency and instrumentality can't engage in how they make their money. This was the whole meaning behind the NCAA, was to give them the freedom to benefit from leveraging their own name, image, and likeness, so long as it doesn't impact and doesn't involve the private institution or the public institution. So no, there is no limit, but it goes to Trustee Clark's point. If all they're doing is raising money and they're not studying, obviously we have a fiduciary obligation to make sure our students are safe and they're benefiting from their access to higher education. So I think the balance that we have to reach here is that we're doing our job to protect our student athletes, but our academic advisors and mentors on campus and coaches are doing their job to make sure the students' focus is on the field or the court or the arena or the mat, rather than on cutting deals. We have to balance that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Any other questions? I move the approval, and thank you, of course, Vice Chancellor Davis.
Thank you. Thank you.
I move the approval of the policy item 2B1. Do I have a second?
Second, Linares Garcia.
Thank you. Any discussion? We will now vote. Please only respond if you would like to abstain or oppose. Item 2B1 approved. Policy item 2B.2, a resolution to appoint the Council of Presidents Subcommittee on Athletics to administer the University Athletic Conference and amend the Manual of General Policy. I now call on Executive Vice Chancellor and Chief Operating Officer and Hector Baptista and President Benicia Eames to provide further background on this item.
Well, thank you, Madam Vice Chair and Madam Chair. The university seeks to transition the governance of CUNY Athletic Conference from Student Affairs Subcommittee to a subcommittee of the University Council of Presidents. The subcommittee as President's Athletic Council will be charged with oversight of athletics, will be able to appoint the CUNY Athletic Director or Commissioner with the approval of members of the Council of Presidents. In 2020, the university commissioned a study of operations of all CUNY athletic programs. It was conducted by Intercollegiate Athletic Council, ICAC. That demonstrated that at the university level, there were things as a university that we needed to sort of focus on to make sure that we were in sort of best practices connected to the NCAA. And one of them was connected to how we ran our conference. It was made clear to us that we were in violation of quite a few site laws connected to the NCAA. So that study really focused on making sure that we properly comply with those guidelines. during that process, we began to sort of look at how we could create a council of presidents. We were lucky enough to have President Ains at York. President Ains has, in her career, a previous role, had run athletics in a previous role, and we thought it was a perfect sort of person to really take a look at and become the chair of this council of presidents. And then so we began sort of that work to begin to sort of look at how we could sort of move this from where it currently sits to the council of presidents to sort of really begin to really focus on standardizing and really focusing on best practices. And I think that what the council of presidents are going to do is really begin to really focus on oversight of our athletic programs to make sure that all voices at the college level, at the president's level, are being heard as we begin to really formulate our conference. With that, I'll turn it over to President Ains to see if she wants to add any additional comments.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. Just a couple of things. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, having been a CUNY returner and been at John Jay, and then had the benefit of being in charge of a Division I program and then coming back to York. Athletics means a lot to me. I understand the role and the connection between student success, retention, and graduation rate that we may not be actually facilitating quite yet or leveraging our opportunity, but we are poised to do that. Having a President's Council functioning in the way that's being proposed is a best practice. It is a national norm. I'm very grateful to President Rabb and all of the others that have been listening to me and participating in all the conversations. Over the last 2 years, we've had approximately 30 meetings to discuss the future of athletics with campus presidents, vice presidents of student affairs, faculty, student athletes, athletic directors, athletic staff, central office staff, and anybody else who is willing to talk to us about it. And we're very, very, very grateful to have participated in a strategic planning process that is going to yield a great strategic plan. And I know that we are poised to do great work once we make some of these adjustments. I think that the council presidents is very invested. I'm very grateful to my colleagues. They've been really, really great about the formulation of the council and their understanding of how important it is to make this shift. So thank you to the Executive Vice Chancellor for giving me this opportunity. Thank you to my Council of Presidents colleagues who have been very patient with all the meetings that I called this year. And thank you to Jerry and to Hector for connecting me with those talented people who are going to give us a real strategic plan for CUNYAC and put us in a place to do great work. So thank you for the time.
I just add one more thing to it. As a former athlete, to me, this was sort of a pride and joy to be able to really work on trying to steward this in sort of the right direction. I think that one of the things that we at CUNY sort of take for granted, how important it is to have our own conference. And the notion that at any given year, one of our schools is going to go to the NCAA tournament. Now, as a competitive person, I would tell you that I want us to now go to the next level and win. We already had our Queens College basketball team, women's basketball team, did end up winning a couple of games. We've had national champions on the 2-year school. So I think more to come there. I really am excited because I see our presidents that have athletics really engage in this. And I think that is absolutely great. And it's going to be great for us student athletes. And with that, I turn it right back to you, Madam Chair. You're muted.
I move the approval of policy item 2B.2. Do I have a second?
Leonidas Garcia, second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Sandra, Chairwoman.
President
Chairwoman Wilson.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to say, Chairman, that this has really been a very exciting initiative, and we thank Vice Chancellor Batista and my dear President of York for taking the leadership and putting the time in. It's really a new focus at CUNY on the importance of athletics and of building citizenship and strong graduation through athletics. And it's a really, having us all come together like this, I think we're going to see real results. So I'm very grateful, Hector and Berencia, for all the resources we've put in, and I'm grateful for this committee support, because I think we're going to see great results from this new perspective.
Thank you for that.
I also have my hand up.
Sure, please, go ahead.
So I've been working on this all weekend because I've been trying to get my head around it. At first, I misunderstood it, and I spend most of the day trying to figure it out, talking to a lot of folks. And I got to tell you that where it stands, until I feel this committee has seen that 2020 report and had an opportunity to look at it and review it together and come to terms with it, I would not support moving this from an administrator who the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, who has to report to this committee in an open meetings law setting, and moving it to a committee, which I do not believe is subject to those rules. We're talking about forming a subcommittee within the Council of Presidents, which already exists. So that's number one. And one of the things that actually brought to my attention is the fact that we haven't heard about athletics for quite some time, which I found problematic. And it's much on this committee as it is on those folks who oversee it. I also am not, let's say we actually looked at this report and finally determined that we would be willing to go along with it, the phrase periodic meetings, I would not live with either. I want a number there, whether that would be either once a year, once a semester, or ideally once a month of that advisory committee meeting with this subcommittee. I'm the liaison from the University Faculty Senate on athletics, and all I've had is about one phone call with Zach Ivkovic over the course of the year. One of the things that just brings to my attention is that we're not even following the existing general policy right now, that committee is not meeting, as far as I can tell, it doesn't exist as an advisory body. So before I would be willing to take this out of the purview of the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs and move it to the Council of Presidents in this subcommittee, which has no open meetings law restrictions, I want to see that report, go over it. So I'm actually moving to table this resolution until that can happen and we can maybe review this again in the fall.
So if you don't mind, Madam Vice Chair, if I could respond. I think that the one thing I want to make sure that my colleagues here sort of fully understands. CUNY for many years, as someone who went, first of all, CUNY for many years had not paid attention to athletics. Athletics was an area where it was a mixed bag of things that were thrown on the athletics. So I appreciate the fact that you say this is on you a little bit. I get that, but I will tell you that if CUNY is going to have an athletic conference, this is the only path forward to have an athletic conference, because the reality is that the NCAA does not recognize CUNY as it exists as an athletic conference. That's the first point. Second point is that doing a very lengthy, this administration came in and doing a very, prior to that, I think you're right. The body that was supposed to sort of look at this never really met or looked at it. So that's really prior to this administration coming in. There was an interim Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, and frankly, nobody was paying attention to the way this conference was being run. So frankly, what we try to do, and I think President Ayin alluded to it, we've met with anybody who wanted to meet with us. And the reality was that we wanted to make sure that we got people's thought leadership. that we had extensive conversation, frankly, at a point when the NCAA gave us one more year, or else we would seek to assist as a conference because of the lack of protocols and policies that had not been followed on this space. So that's really sort of my response to that. And I think that we're at a point that this action needed to move to take place, because if not, we will have some serious repercussions.
I have a couple questions.
Yes, please. Trustee.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Wilkins. So I read the resolution, and I was a former athlete as a student in high school. I've been involved in CUNY for 4 years. I did a lot of work with our student athletes, and I understand we're following a national model, and we're trying to make sure we're on board with what's going on and making sure CUNY is recognized, that our athletics department is recognized as an athletic conference. Student success, and we talk about graduation, is very vital and works in conjunction with student affairs. And one of the questions that I have is, what role would the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs and her division be playing if this does shift over to the Council of Presidents? Because I do think when we talk about student success, retention, the Division of Student Affairs plays a huge role in that. So I feel like I want some clarity in terms of, hypothetically it moves over to the presidents. What role does student affairs now still play into this? What jurisdiction they would have? How would the conversations go, the decision making?
Well, I'm going to handle the first part of it, and then I'll let Benicia handle the second part. The first part of it is, this is not about a model, Giovanni. This is about, we're in violation, and I had to fly to was it California, Jerry, to have a meeting with the NCAA to get us not to take the conference away from us, because we've been in violations for many years. There are a host of different things connected to how much is invested in the conference. So this is beyond that, right? So the reality is that, only the commissioner's office is shifting. Nothing is changing in terms of the campus, how athletes are, they will report to the student affairs at each of the campuses. So none of that is going to be shifting. It's just the commissioner's office, because that is the key to the NCAA. It really has nothing to do how the athletics is run on each individual campus. As far as the governance is going to be in the student affairs part of it. So that's just to make clear, but I'll let, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Before President Eames goes, sorry, President Eames, I just have a follow-up because I'm looking at the language now, and I see that the athletic conference director will report to the Vice Chancellor of Student Development. That's crossed out, and it says the conference will be administered by a subcommittee of the University Council of Presidents charged with oversight in athletics. So I don't see that language in there. So that's why I asked that question. President, you can go ahead.
I understand that, but that's just, again, there's an athletic conference, athletic staff that runs the conference, but that really is separate and apart from what happens at the campus. But I'll let the president sort of respond.
So a couple of things. Only the commissioner's office is shifting. Nothing changes on campus. So it is a national best practice. People can definitely check it out. We are just trying to make sure that we align ourselves with what we know is working for the level of program that we're trying to run. And I think we have been very diligent as a group of presidents, but also as a group across the university, and having conversations around how do we right-side some of this. And there will be no less involvement. What I will say is Vice Chancellor Maybeck and I talk often, and she understands my commitment, obviously, by virtue of my background, and others, to making sure that these new synergies and new pathways are firm, but they're connected with what the NCAA wants and what we want for the future of CUNYAC. So let me express very clearly, if we take this amazing opportunity to transform and evolve what we know can happen with CUNYAC as it relates to student experience, it will be exactly that. It'll be transformative because you will have a group of presidents supporting the commission, right? And all of that. You will also make sure that you have all the divisions. Actually, and quite honestly, I think our new provost has an opportunity. Everybody at every level has an opportunity to understand the role of having a strong and fortifying athletics program. We are not the only system in the United States that has developed a program that is focused on student success, graduation, and retention. Everything we do should be shifted with that being a focus. Everything we do. Resources, the way that all of the governance is structured, and this is just our first step. Everything we do should be focused on that because this is the most amazing, one of the most amazing tools, not the only, but one of the most amazing tools we have to work together, right? For that synergy. So I just offer that.
May I respond now?
Go ahead.
Some of the remarks. Okay.
Just,
Well, pardon me?
just hope, let's give somebody else.
That's fine. I can wait till Salimatu speaks.
I see that, that our chair, I believe, had a comment to make. Chair Clark, is that correct?
Yeah, the comment was, the clarification is one thing. I was just wanting to hear what the students' representatives have to say at this point. And if their understanding of what is explained is clarifying to them.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. My question is gonna be about, I heard that you held a lot of meetings. Can you hear me well? Okay. You held a lot of meetings to prepare this. It was a lot of work, which is great. I was wondering what was the student input in making all of this happen? What was the student perspective in all of the meetings that you held, in all of these conversations? How were the students involved and what was their primary response to it?
I will generalize some of the student update, but what I will say is we can also give you more detailed information. And I will ask that, again, these are generalizations. The students are very invested in CUNY athletics. Many of our athletes play more than one sport. They're very dedicated and very interested in making sure that we shore up a couple of things. Facilities, right? It's one of those things that we've been dealing with for years, making sure everybody has the right field to play on, right? Transportation, how do we get there? How do we get back, right? How do we represent it the best way? So I think, very often I feel like because people presume that because our students are doing a lot, that they're not as invested in this, but most of our CUNY athletes are deeply invested, play more than one sport, want to know that that CUNYAC is strong, want to know that we're compliant. They want to know that we're doing all the right things to support them. And they also want to know how that connects to, again, their success, their graduation, and their retention. We did have a series of focus groups where we got feedback from the students. And I think that we're in a great place. And I will also add that your CUNY athletic directors are very active in listening to the voices of the students, and they come to the conversation with the voices of their campus. So not only the student feedback, there's also the coaches' feedback, there's the athletic directors' feedback. There are a variety of places where we have heard what is interesting to them and what is valuable to them. And we also hear the backdrop of what I will say to this group, the ever-changing swift agenda of the NCAA. So my concern and my interest is that we do not get on the train late, we stay on the train early.
So I'll just have a follow-up point here.
Yes.
I would love to see some type of comparative study, I'm gonna call it, whether this stays under student affairs or whether it's shifted to something else, I think it would be important because I see that on the student and on the faculty side, there is like a divergence. So I think seeing that based on facts or something like that, prior to a resolution or something like that, I think it would be useful for all of us to see and to understand better how this is going to influence us positively.
So let me,
Or not.
I will go back to EVC Batista, but let me say, this structural shift is not a shift away from serving the students because it's not in student affairs. So let me be clear. This is a best practice and it is a norm for a conference of our type. It does not separate us from student affairs in any way. It does not separate the campuses from student affairs in any way. So I just want to be sure that we emphasize that. What the students said is, we want to be sure that athletics is important. We want to be sure we have the right fields. We want to be sure we have meal money. We want full-time coaches. We want to be sure that all of our voices being heard. We want to set up a structure that makes sure that all of that happens. So I just want to reiterate that, and I hope that people are hearing that. A lot of this is well overdue, and I think that we can happen if athletics stays reporting to an entity that does not exist or meet or talk with athletics. We are trying to remedy something, right? That is imperative.
And frankly, you know, it's very, very important, this thing, right, that the president just made. A committee that did not assist, never met. And a conference is being run at the central office to a committee that didn't assist. Our athletes, in a lot of cases, I mean, I spent 2 years meeting with athletes, going to as many games as possible. We had town hall meetings. Because I personally care for it. And I understand the journey of an athlete. And I know the difference between how an athlete gets treated the right way and an athlete doesn't get treated the right way. I know the difference because I experienced that, right? And frankly, what is troubling to me in this is that what we're trying to do here is make sure that there is a conference that is run appropriately, that has the college presidents having skin in the game, making sure that the resources to these athletes are being provided, and that the NCAA has said, if you don't fix this, we're going to take the conference away from you guys, and you will not have a conference. Now what? Now we have CUNY athletes that don't have because we have even challenges of feeling women's sports and dealing with all that because those things were not being paid attention to. So the reality is, this is a shift of a staff, the commissioner's office, not a shift of the reporting within the campuses. So that's really the clear point that needs to be made here. And it is important to know that before we got here, for many years before that, the committee never met. As the professors never met. And we began to really create some structure to really make sure that our student athletes were being treated like they're supposed to be treated. And you know, town hall meetings I've had even during the pandemic with all student athletes to make sure that they were heard and we took their input as this process went forth.
Am I allowed to respond now?
Yes, please.
Okay, well, I'm getting conflicting reports, and I'll tell you that when Chris Rosa was the IVC, athletics was fine. Your administration, EVC Batista, you've been in this role for 3 years, you know, so that's a period of time to take the reins of what's going on. I've been in the role of the liaison for 1 year. There were people before me that may have been meeting in this particular council, whatever. We'd have to find out when last we met. And I appreciate that athletics is very important, but what's more important to me is shared governance. And what I don't appreciate is when the administration comes to us and tells us this is an emergency and has to be done now, and sorry that we didn't talk to you, no one came to the University Faculty Senate. All right. And we've invited people to come talk to us, and very few people come to talk to us. Nobody talked to us about this. And now it's being brought to us as a fait accompli. It's an emergency. It has to happen. I would like to see something in writing from the NCAA telling us they're going to take away our conference. I want to see the 2020 report, and I'm prepared to do it over the summer. If it's so important that we have to work on this, it's shared governance, I'll work at it over the summer, but I'm not prepared to turn over, as I've said before, the way that things are currently set up, where the vice chancellor reports to this committee in an open meetings law setting and putting it in the hands of a committee that doesn't report in open meetings law setting, and creates, it's just as easy to form this council that has not met, which exists currently in the policy, the general policy, as it is to create this subcommittee in the Council of Presidents. So, this is what again, as far as the question that Giovanni had previously, in the language, the role that the vice chancellor of student affairs will have is that the vice chancellor will have a representative on this advisory committee, which will meet currently, as the language stands, periodically with a representative of this subcommittee of the President's Council. So to me, that, I'm not prepared to support this resolution as it stands right now. I'd rather table it, sit down, meet, let's go over this report. Let's go over all the concerns of the NCAA. We can come back in the fall and vote on it and move on it then. But I'm not prepared to, once again, hand over shared governance policies just because I'm being told we have another emergency on our hands. We can't run the institution on emergency, by fiat like this. It's not, I can't support that.
Well, I take offense to the emergency part. I don't think anybody said emergency. I think that the reality is there's been a lot of consultation and a lot of discussion. So I don't think that we had an acting vice chancellor for student affairs who was not paying attention to this at all. And that's the facts. You could say whatever you want to say, but that's the facts as it's laid out. But I think that we've responded to what the questions as the best as we can, Madam Vice Chair.
Sandra, Giovanni has her hands up.
Yeah, so I heard I got a bit of clarification. One thing I just want to echo, and I'm always here to represent the students' interest and why it's so important of student consultation, because I do believe it prevents the students feeling like we're included, because everything that this institution does affects students directly. We do it for our students, and we want to make sure we have our students' best interests at heart. Of course, we would want to be in compliance, but I think it's very important with a change like this, the language and the role of what exactly the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs' office and division will be playing is in this language. No one writes legislation, and sometimes it could be open. Things can be written, but I do think it does save us in the future. Let's include what exactly the role of There's exactly what the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs will be doing. I think it's very important that we go back to the table, we revisit the language of it, because I do understand we want to be in compliance, it's important, and I'm all for that. I think I just do not have clarification on the roles that our stakeholders in CUNY will be playing. And another question I have is, I believe that we have a CUNY Act commissioner. With this new structure being put in place, will there be a new commissioner with this new change that will be happening, shifted over to the presidents? Will the presidents be overseeing that and picking a new commissioner?
I have my hand up. Before I get to that, Giovanni, let me just say a couple of things. So I have to lean on maybe the potential of increased communication, because the reports and the conversation has been fluid with every president on the council. I report on a regular basis. I have a couple of times at COPS meetings and in other places. And this is part of being a big system. So I know sometimes things get lost, but 2 years of conversation is 2 years of conversation with a lot of people. And so we're just trying to make sure we put ourselves in a place to continue to grow, right? And pay attention to all of that. So before we get to the commissioner and any of that, first, let's go back to the fact that there's been town halls, we've had workshop sessions. We announced several times over the course of the last couple of years that there was a strategic plan being built. We were facilitating this via consultants. I'm more concerned than anything, and it's not an emergency. I don't want to use that word. I'm more concerned than anything that possibly those who should have, I mean, it's about communication. So there's been a lot of communication, but it may not have been where you heard it or people understood it, but we're trying to make sure that we put our athletes and our students in the best place. I think that's really what we want to do. Keeping in mind, the thing about CUNYAC that's very unique is that we are a D2 program we are a D3 mostly CUNY program with other people to consider. We have to consider the nuance of our community colleges. We've been working on all of this, right? We have a lot of moving pieces. So some of our conversation has emphasized those moving pieces. And I think that that's what we're trying to present is one step in the right direction for CUNYAC as a whole. Keeping in mind that we specified that there is not going to be any negation of the campus role in the management of athletics. That is not what we're proposing. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. I want to be sure.
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'm not sure who can answer my question regarding the commissioner position. Will the presidents be picking that? Will they be? I just wanted some clarification. Will there be a new one with this change?
According to the language, what's going to happen is that this new subcommittee is going to be picking the new commissioner, and then it'll be approved by the Council of Presidents. That's the way the language reads.
Exactly.
But I just want to say, if you take issue with the word emergency, because I was getting the impression that we had to act now. That's the way it sounded to me, like we were gonna lose our athletes. We're not going to be able to compete in the NCAA. So I if you don't want to use the word, let's just say that it seemed like it was like a rush to judgment, but as we're being told that there is no emergency and that there is time to talk, particularly at this committee level. Since again, I will say that I'm on the executive committee. I've been on the executive committee of the University Faculty Senate for 7 years. I've been on this committee for that same amount of time, and none of this talk. I've heard none of this, and that's not unique in CUNY. I'll admit it. It's always been our issue. We're a big body, and it's hard to talk to everybody. But I feel like I'd like to talk about this a little bit more before I'm prepared to again. For me, this feels seismic, moving the oversight of athletics again from the vice chancellor, who reports to this committee in an open meetings law setting, to this subcommittee of a body that does not report to anybody that I'm aware of. I don't get reports from the president's councils, and I'm only going to be given periodic advisory participation if when that's put together. I need a little more than that.
So a couple of points. Number one, there is an NCAA mandate that we have to fix this. Now, I can't tell you when they're going to take our charter away, but that is a reality, right? And the reason they sort of held off was the fact that we brought in a consultant. We had all this work that was done. That's number one. The Council of Presidents will be and it's stated, right? The commissioner will have a reporting structure to the Council of Presidents. That's the way it sort of is will work going forward. And that is the way the NCAA has stated that we need to sort of have this in order for us to be able to be in compliance. That's not rules that I made up. I'm just following the rules that were laid out, right? And we might not like it, but that's the facts, right? The report was been shared for the last 2 years. The report that was done by the consultant, it really taught and was shared with the presidents and the athletic directors and all these things. But the reality is that we really didn't put in place things that should have been put in place, many years ago, connected to coaches lines, trainers, and all these things that, we began to sort of to clean up, to try to make sure that we are running the proper conference with the right kind of sort of protocols and things that we need to have in place. So that's a fact.
Sandra, you have Giovanni with her hand up again.
So EVC Batista, I just want some clarification. So with this new change, will this commissioner be out, CUNY Act commissioner be outgoing? Will there be a new one with this new group, new structure? Or how will that process work? I just want some clarification on how that would work.
Yeah, the Council of Presidents will name an acting commissioner, and then there will be a search that will be conducted in order to pick the next commissioner of the conference.
And who normally sits on that search for that new commissioner?
Well, I'll defer to the incoming chair of that conference to say who's going to sit on that.
So our understanding is that we would, of course, follow, the understanding that we would have a shared governance group of faculty, staff, and students for a search for a new commissioner, and that we would make sure that we revise and or update any job description needed for the future of CUNY Act, keeping in mind that our most important focus is what is best for the full group, and that we have consulted, because I have gotten a lot of feedback, and I share this here, from the community colleges, that they have been neglected, they have not been represented in this conversation, and we do have 2 schools that are D2. So how do we develop a full composite of that, and how we go from there?
By the way, the way the resolution currently reads, there is no combined search committee that includes students and faculty. It only is that subcommittee of the Council of Presidents. I'm motioning to table this resolution.
I second the motion.
So Sandra, you got to call a vote on the motion on the table to lay over. So you have to call a vote on that motion.
Yes, so we need to take a vote on the motion.
Just to clarify, who votes at this level? Who has a vote at this?
So 1 student, 1 faculty, and the other trustees. So
Okay.
if you want to do it by hand, a show of hands, so because you want to lay this over, except our chair, trustee, have to do it.
My hand is up. I'll go with the desires of the student. She's expressed what her reservations are, and as chair of student affairs, I'd like very much to be in, to lay over and then to have the discussion. But we should set a time at which we should have this completed, and so that the President Council can go ahead with what they need to do.
There's a motion. Any further discussion?
Since I made the motion, I'm willing to say that to discuss it over the summer and to vote on the motion no later than the first meeting of Student Affairs Committee in the fall of 2022.
But could we do an emergency meeting that that we would come back to, so it wouldn't have to be laid over that long? Would we be willing as a committee to come back in a month or so to take a look at it I don't think it takes more than that time for us to study or to figure out what it is we really need to do so that we don't have things delayed.
I will just point out that if this is something that needs to be passed by the Board of Trustees, then it doesn't matter when we meet after that meeting has happened in June. They'll still have to wait till the Board of Trustees can convene and finally make it a matter of, approved general policy.
Convene earlier than that, but given the sentiment, given the hard work that has been done to get us to this point, and the interest of the students and the chair of this committee, will make a motion to hold over at this point.
So Hugo, right, so Hugo made the motion, Giovanni seconded. So now, and trustee Clark has voted in support of that, so you just need to find, I guess, Sandra, we'll figure out how you're voting, and Myra, and you're there, and I'm looking for Michael. I don't think Michael's here.
We have trustee Linares is here. I'm here.
Yes. My only concern is that, what the process is from here to there. Are we going to have subsequent meetings? And what does that look like? And the time frame? I understand that if we miss the next board meeting, this is going to be tabled. Also, I just don't understand what the process of the next steps are going to be, so that we, because I'd be willing, like the chair said, to get together sooner than later, even if it's just to have this settled, so that it's something that, is not just shelved, that we can have further discussion if that's where we're moving towards.
This is June. I think that we should do, not call it an emergency meeting. We should do a layover meeting so that we can have further discussion with the President's Council and move it forward so that everybody's clear and we are all on the same page, so we can get it done as quickly as possible.
So the motion is still on the table, Sandra. I guess we just have to call a vote. So it's been seconded. Everybody needs to call the vote on the motion to lay over.
Here's it, but we're going to call for a vote to lay this over. We know that this is a urgent situation that we do need to get a time to meet, and for the board, of course, to meet on this, so that we have a vote going forward without a delay. So at this point, the vote, the motion that's here is to vote that we are now at a point where we will lay over this particular item for, I would say, if we can get together in the next, within the next 2 weeks, 14 days, to have a review, and at that time determine what else is necessary.
Okay, so the idea is to lay it over and meet again in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to call the vote, though. Everybody's got to vote, so it's very clear on the record. So
yes.
So just a show of hands, the trustees and the members of the committee.
I think the best way is we'll look at, I don't know if you see the hands going up.
Yep, that's what I'm counting right now. So and I don't know, and trustee Clark,
and you have my voice. You have my voice for the layover.
Lennon, you do not get to vote twice. The students get one vote. So Giovanni's voting for you. You should, okay. So you can't have your hand up. It's too confusing. Thank you. Okay, so you got Giovanni. So Sandra, you voting yet?
Yes, my hands.
You're voting in favor, your hands up. Okay, and trustee Clark. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the vote carries to lay over the item.
I would just ask to prepare for that meeting that we get a copy of this 2020 report and any other correspondence from the NCAA which speaks about our compromised status. Thank you.
I know there's been an incredible amount of hard work, and given the importance and the discussion that we had, that the time frame does have to be set for a meeting within 14 days.
15 days. Without 14, not beyond 15 days. So we'll say 14 days.
Okay, we'll go about and through my office getting something scheduled and calendared to get the committee back together.
Thanks, Madam Secretary.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, that's it.
Okay. With no more action items on the policy calendar, we will move on to the information item on the agenda. That would be 3A, and we will now hear reflections from students. So I invite Vice Chancellor Maybeck to introduce the students.
Well, I want to begin by thanking our students for hanging in here with us. And so I want to make certain that I leave time for you to do what you do. So as we end this academic year that has certainly been like no other, we bring to you 3 students who will share reflections on their experiences this year. I start with a quote from Sheryl Sandberg. We need women at all levels, including the top, to change the dynamics, reshape the conversation, to make sure women's voices are heard and heeded, not overlooked and ignored. Each of the students joining us this evening is distinguished in her own right. Each has a lens that will open to you a view of CUNY you might not otherwise experience. Each will share her CUNY lived experience, and each will do so in our expected 2-minute time limit. I introduce to you in order of presentation our speakers. Salamatu Dambuya, who is the CUNY trustee and University Student Senate chairperson. Bonibel Rosario, a graduate student from the CUNY School of Public Health, and Sierra Garcia from Queens College, who is representing our CUNY's women's wheelchair basketball team. Have at it, y'all.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Maybank. Hello again, everybody. Like Vice Chancellor Maybank said, I'm Salimatu Dambuya, and I'm the new University Student Senate Chair and Student Trustee. I am a student at the New York City College of Technology, where I am studying architecture, and ever since I came to the US, I fell in love with student leadership. That's where I started in student government, which led me all the way to USS. It's a long story. But today I want to talk about the University Student Senate. I know that for a lot of you haven't seen us, but I want to tell you the good news that we are back. We are here to serve the students, we are here to be the students' voice. We are just here, and I'm gonna say again, to serve the students of CUNY, the 250 degree seeking students and the 500,000 students in total. We are a body that advocates for the students in all of the different, all across the boards when it comes to their academics, when it comes to their accessibility, when it comes to advocating for anything that concerns them. It was my pleasure to speak for the University Student Senate and for CUNY at the City Council budget hearing on May 25th, where we spoke about what were the university's priorities. And I'm gonna say that the university's priorities and the University Student Senate priorities really matched, because at the end of the day, what came out the most of this is the need for mental health support. Mental health support across other things, but I want to focus on mental health support. We have all gotten to know ourselves more. We all got to know what we need versus what we want. And I really appreciate the university's effort to make that happen, and also on the University Student Senate side. So we are here We are available to you. We are available to meet. We are available to speak in order to make this university even better than it is already and to work together as citizens of CUNY. Thank you.
Hello, buenas noches. I'm Bonivel Rosario. I use she, ella pronouns, and I am a first-year student at CUNY SPH. I'm pursuing the community health track. And a bit about my interests. My main interests are in public health or gender violence prevention, healthcare access, and racial equity. I started my studies fall 2020 after 6 years of working in youth leadership development and education, ironically in college access. So many of my students over the years are in different of the CUNY campuses. On my experience, as you may imagine, it has been heavily influenced by the pandemic, not only professionally, but personally. It has also been shaped by various health challenges, grief, and financial security. And I know I'm not alone in that. In comparison to my colleagues and fellow students, I'm grateful to have been able to access different types of support at SPH, particularly from my academic advisor and my dean. This support has looked like beyond them, but also the institution, like advising and advocacy, accessing the CUNY Emergency Fund, working with the Writing Center, and academic support with taking a semester off and asking accommodations as needed after. And these have allowed me to continue my studies and navigating shifting from part-time to full-time, which is also connected to the experience of many of my classmates. And I look forward to continuing my studies and growing as a public health professional. And I want to thank you again for having me speak on my experience.
Good evening. My name is Seira Larrauri. I don't think many of you know me or might know me. I've been studying for Queens College for the last 2 years. Recently, I do urban studies, but I'm thinking about changing to the whole reason that I'm here. I wouldn't be in New York if it wasn't for this new program that Coach Ryan and SAC and the entire athletic community brought. I was in Florida 2 years ago, basically over with basketball until he called me and was like, I have a new team and you're gonna come play for me. And to be in a USA tryout. Didn't make the team, but I wouldn't be where I am right now level for this new program. I'm sorry, I don't like to talk in front of people. I get a little bit nervous. And yeah, I think that's a little bit about me. And I look forward to seeing how the program keeps growing and bringing more people throughout New York, because there's enough disabled people out there that might benefit from this program. And I would like to see how it keeps growing and how it keeps impacting other people's life. And again, thank you for having me.
Sierra, we missed some of what you said with the breakup of your phone, but thank you so much for just hanging in there and saying it all, because you need to recognize, all of us need to recognize that Sierra was going to represent CUNY on the Paralympics. You know, it was like, I just can't believe it. And it's so exciting. And so we just want to say thank you to you for who you are, for what you've done, for what you've accomplished. Bonivel, thank you for being the voice of what has happened in the pandemic to impact you as a graduate student, where you recognize the impact on other students. Salematu, you've just hung in there and just made it all come together for USS as a trustee, and we thank you all. So woman power. I'm all about representing. And so you all did a great job this evening. I'm going to turn it back over to Chairperson Wilson.
Well, once again, thank you. And you are amazing. You represent CUNY and the colleges in the most incredible way. And I know I speak on behalf of the committee and CUNY that our thank you and for your diligence and for your incredible future success. So thank you so much. I will open if any for further discussion, if anyone else would like to provide remarks.
I just want to say wonderful job. Salamatu, congratulations. You represent me well, even though I'm not a student anymore, I graduated, but shout out to the students. You all do incredible work and I'm always inspired to hear your stories. And I hope this serves as a way of motivation for our administration so they can continue doing the great work that they do at CUNY. So thank you.
Congratulations, Giovanni.
I would just also add for Salamatu, congratulations. A very hard won fight. I know that I witnessed the students struggling this year at the University Student Senate level. Even though all the hard work they had done, a lot of it under Giovanni had led to the kind of economic support that CUNY is now receiving from the state and hopefully will also from the city. But I hope, and we've talked that I hope that, that there can be some healing at the USS level and that you'll all come back next year with, vigor to the work that needs to keep being done. And I hope to support you by being there.
Thank you. Well,
if I may, Chair, Vice Chair.
Okay, Trustee Linares, good to see you.
Good. I was trying to run away from my children. I didn't know what was the best room to do so at this time, but I would be remiss not to just make comments. I love when the students come and participate. You guys are inspiration. And you all did well. I know even for those that say that this is not what they do, you did it and you represented your students, colleagues so very well. And we just want to thank you and encourage you to continue to share your voice moving forward. So thank you so much. And I'm proud of all of you. Thank you for sharing today.
Well, thank you, Chancellor, Vice Chancellor Maybank, and to all the graduates of 20, 21, and 22, the amazing graduates of these years. Okay, and with that, if there are no more items on the agenda, I move to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second?
Second, Thea.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Is adjourned. It's good to see you all. Please take